That's my favorite little bar. When a hot band's playing, the people come from near and far. That's where the women are hot, the liquor is cheap, and the food, it tastes so good. So when I'm down and out, I just think to myself, it would be great if I only could. I wanna go back to Texas, where everybody's feeling fine. I wanna go back to Texas, where they treat you so kind. I wanna go back to Texas, boy, I had a real good time. I wanna go back to Texas, down in Georgia on the coastline.
Tipsy McSway's at 1414 Newcastle Street in historic downtown Brunswick, Georgia is your friendly neighborhood bar and grill where you'll find it all. Good food, good music, good times. I want to go back to Tipsy's.
Well, if you wanna get wild, you're feeling alright, and it's time for you to blow a fuse. Come ready, jump and shout, and really get loud, guaranteed to lose your blues. Yeah, by the time to go home, you won't stay alone, you're gonna find some TLC. And for the rest of your life, you remember the night down in Georgia by the sea. I wanna go back to Texas, where everybody's feeling fine. I wanna go back to Texas, where they treat you so kind. Yeah, I wanna go back to Texas, boy, I had a real good time. I wanna go back to Texas, down in Georgia on the coastline.
There it is.
What's that?
That's when they're trying to cut you off.
Yeah.
Rock and roll! Old John Smith. And they going like this here.
Yeah.
Y'all breaking the law. That's one of y'all's crimes right here taking place.
I told y'all to cut it.
Something in the water taught me how to crawl. Something in the water taught me how to fall. Something in my blood.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Something in the Water podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sean Clark.
And I'm Uncle Dave Griffin, and our guest is Mr. Billy Ray Herrin. For the second time, he's back.
Whoa.
And we're glad.
He's what?
He's back.
I thought he said bike. He's a bike.
And we got a lot to talk about, folks. This coming to you, hopefully, on Wednesday, November 24th. Leading up to tonight is a big 24th annual Gram Parsons virtual guitar pool. And we're going to celebrate that live on our annual Gram Parsons Guitar Pool and Tribute Festival Facebook page at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you want to go on there and check that out. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be Something in the Water podcast. Caution Light Media is producing that one as well. And Sean Clark and myself, we'll both be here co-hosting a podcast format, but it'll still be the virtual tribute, just like we did last year. We'll be offering up some fine videos from past performers of the actual live Graham Parsons guitar pool. Past performers and headliners. It's going to be a good evening. We'll have some raffle prizes too, some drawings and some very, very unique gifts. So you want to tune into that. Just go on Facebook and check it out through our Something in the Water podcast page or our annual Graham Parsons Guitar Pool and Tribute Festival page. You can get the lowdown on everything there. But getting back to our guest now. Me and Billy Ray have done it all together. We've been cohorts in crime and in
Yeah.
good things.
Yeah.
Really, we did some crime back in our day.
Yeah.
And all kinds of. We actually grew up on what they call Dog Hill, Mount Pleasant Road, a little old dirt road in Waycross, Georgia. And he was right across the road from me. We met when we were very young.
Right.
Hardly even remember it. He's got. What's your memory? You were a year older than me.
My first memory of it was Dave. It was Gary wanted to introduce me to his younger brother, and it was at Christmas, and we all had got cowboy shirts that year. Because back in them days, all the kids got the same toy. Because the kid, the parents
Here's the
went down to
toy of
same
this year.
Chris's and McCroy's and got the same toy. Well, we all had cowboy shirts with all those little fake, rhinestones on them, and Dave's sitting on that split rail fence in the front yard with a smile about the size of the fence. That's my first recollection of Dave Griffin.
You probably said to me that day, you said, "We're going to get a band one day." And
I don't remember thinking that because the Beatles hadn't came out yet.
Well, hell, that was probably 1957 that we
Right.
met.
Yeah.
But we grew up. I was in the Daddy was in the military, and we moved around a lot. But we always came back home
Always.
to that house on Mount Pleasant Road, and we'd come back 2-3 years later. We'd be a little bit bigger, and everybody around us, our neighbors, would be a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
We'd pick up right where we left off, and we started playing
In a
backyard sports.
of our childhood buddy James Cock,
James Cock was my very next door neighbor,
and he had a pasture.
and he had his granddaddy. He lived with his granddaddy and grandma and his mother, and his granddaddy used to own a bull, and he had a pasture down in the deep in the yard behind the house. And by the time we came along, the bull was gone, and we took over the pasture.
Yeah.
And we had, I'm telling you, we played every
Lord.
sport possible back there.
We lived back there.
We lived back there. We
And the
built.
little shelter before it there.
Oh man, best pump, cool well water that you
I'm
could
telling you.
ever. We played basketball, football, baseball, soccer,
Everything.
hide and go seek, army. We'd go to the movies on Saturday
Yeah.
and spend all day at the Ritz or Lyric Theater watching double and triple features.
For a quarter.
And we'd come home and there'd still be plenty of daylight left, and
yeah.
we'd go out in the yard and reenact the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you grow up, your thoughts turn to girls, and there was that
Well,
going on.
February the 9th, 1964 was a
Oh, my God.
pivotal point in our history. So
Well, I was living in Albany at that time, but you saw them
I see 'em,
on your
and
TV in Waycross.
I was already trying to play the hand-me-down guitar. My brother had handed me down a harmony, which I couldn't figure out what the hell to do with it. I decided I was after that concert, so Went down to the record nook, and they were giving lessons for $3 a lesson. You couldn't hardly get in the door. There were so many kids wanting to learn to play.
This was after seeing them on Ed
After
Sullivan.
February 9th, 1964, the Beatles' first Ed Sullivan performance. So I took lessons and learned to play Tom Dooley, Michael Row You Boat Ashore, and I said, okay, boys, I want to learn the Beatles now. So they teach me Beatles songs, and then from there, I'm playing guitar for a few years before anybody around me's playing. Well, Dave was always playing piano, so he already had a little bit of this, and he had some drum lessons playing
I took
the
some
snare
piano lessons in the 6th grade. And I tried guitar in the 6th grade because Gary took the same lessons as you did at the record nook.
And he quit. He was one of
And
them
he
that
didn't
walked
last
out.
long,
Yeah,
but I
he walked
remember
out.
his little notebook, and there was those songs, Tom Dooley,
Band called the
Michael Row
Carpetbaggers.
and I believe it was 8 days a week.
8 days a week was our first Beatles song.
Yeah.
And it was a band called the Carpetbaggers. It was a house band at Steve's Pine Room that was teaching on Saturdays.
Yeah.
But anyway, learned to play. And I played around in a couple of bands there in the late 60s. Didn't ever do much, but we played. And, you know, me and Dave was always hanging out together. We're doing everything. And Dave was already musical. And I needed a bass player. You always need a bass player, right? So I said, I think you could be a good bass player. Well, Dave agrees, and I teach him Hey Joe by Jimi Hendrix on a 6-string guitar with only 4 strings.
Well, that was one of the coolest bass lines around.
Yeah.
It was a walking bass line.
So he borrows one of his buddy's basses,
Jimmy Duncombe.
and we set out to start playing. And he has a buddy that plays drums in the high school band, Jake Lee. Bring Jake Lee in, and we start the original.
Who was
Jason Lee's.
Jason Lee's
Jason
daddy.
Lee's daddy.
Yeah.
We start the original Dog Hill Gang.
Jake wanted
Is
to
this when
name
the crime started? Is this when the crime took
Well,
place?
it was kind of
when they started
Well,
the
we
gang.
first played it.
What was y'all's gang sign?
There's a Dog Hill Gang, and we got our first gig at the VFW.
Was it this?
And we made $27. And then we decided to bring in other players. Remember, we brought George
Bagley came
Bagley
in.
and Bill
Very
Heyman
good
in.
guitar.
Very good guitar player. And we actually started getting good sounds, but we had a little musical cultural difference.
Well, George could play from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Octopus's Garden.
Yeah, he could.
And it was like, wow.
And he did well on Cream stuff, too.
Yeah, but he wanted to go in the direction of Alice Cooper, and when he came in with Dead Babies.
I said, I'm not playing Dead Babies. I can't do that.
I
But
draw
we
a line
also-
of dead babies.
We didn't agree with the name of the group. Me and David come up with Sweetbriar Junction before
That's right.
before we
yeah,
dropped the
yeah.
Junction, and he wanted to call it Holy Ghost, and Jake Lee wanted to call it 5-Card Stud. And I told Dave, I said, listen, I don't think this is going anywhere. So we ended that band pretty quick. Then I got drafted.
That's right.
And after I come out, you had been playing with some folks. Doing,
I'd been playing more with George Bagley and Bill Heyman, but it was Albert Gatton and Gerald Gibson.
yeah, because you remember you telling me you were playing Captain Beyond.
Yeah,
and
we
I
played
remember
that.
thinking this is not
Dancing
the direction
Madly
I wanna go.
Backwards, and that's not really the direction you wanted to go. But you were going you were leaning hard in another direction by the time you got out of the Army,
Yeah.
and I was drifting
Yeah.
into that same direction too.
We loved a mix of
Before
country
you
and
went in the
rock.
Army,
Yeah,
you had bought Chris Christopherson
Yeah, I loved
albums
everything Chris played, and
and
Bob
the Creedence
Dylan.
Clearwater stuff, and of course we listened to Grand Funk.
Yeah,
Heavy into that, but you were already pulling into a direction
yeah,
that music wound up going in.
yeah, and then me and you did a little duet for a little while, just playing around. You remember a few things we did, just acoustic guitar.
We played for
You,
Ware
me,
County
me.
Yeah, and
music
then,
class or
yeah.
something like a chorus.
We
I
did a
guess.
couple of things, and
That's a
then
joke.
then we
was up there
decided to-
singing in front of the chorus.
decided to start the Sweetbriar Band, and we found Danny Altman and Tank Tackersley, and we set out to do that band.
And that one you said I said, who's gonna play lead guitar? And he said, you.
You go. Well, we were in
okay.
there jamming one day, and you struck out on "Ramblin' Man" playing the lead on it. And I said, "Wait a minute, we don't need a lead guitar player. You just did it." And
I
Dave
didn't
said,
know
"Yeah."
what the hell I was doing.
So we created this band, and it comes out pretty good, and we get some gigs, and then Joe Sheeran, Ricky Alderman, and Monty comes in on it, and the band really got very good then. We became one of your most sought after bands in Southeast Georgia for high school dances and clubs and stuff, and
We was playing a good bit.
yeah,
Jessup and Alma and
yeah.
And that was Sweetbriar.
Yeah.
Sweetbriar.
But you know what I always wanted to do was write songs, and I tell you this before, told you before as a child, when Bob Dylan's "Blown in the Wind" came out, Peter, Paul, and Mary's version of it, which hit #1 on Billboard, I love that song so much. Mama went and bought me a 45, and I can still to this day remember that, looking at that 45, and I looked down at under the title of the song, and it said "Be Dialin'." That's the way I pronounced it, "Be Dialin'." And I remember thinking, as much as I liked their singing, who wrote this song? You know, and I know my focus ended up then wanting to write songs from that point. So it's
Well, fast forward, and we did end up writing some songs and having some publishing contracts
Sure did.
with Bill Lowry in the early 90s. Dude, fast forward 7 more. No. About that time, we had some success with Lowry Music Group,
Sure did.
which
And it
was
was
the
on-
largest independent music publisher in the world. Bill Lowry out of Atlanta.
Sure did.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I
He-
had already had 5 songs published, and before I called you.
Right.
Okay, and one of the songs he'd give to Waylon Jennings, which I never got cut. But I called you one day and I said, I got this good thing going with Bill Lowry. Come in and help me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, you come in and we start doing it together. And boy, Lowry just fell in love with that stuff.
What
And
we would
him
do is get in your studio. You had the studio.
Yeah.
I'd come over after work. Most nights I'd get off at about 11:30 in the morning before I'd lay down.
Mm-hmm.
I worked the night shift at the post office. Before
Yeah.
I'd go to bed, I'd go over there and we would sit down and program a drum machine for the song that we were going to cut. Then I'd lay down all the music to it.
Yeah.
And if we needed anything extra, we'd call somebody to come in and
Right.
lay.
We had one time we had Connie and Rita sing on some stuff
Yeah.
for us.
And,
But Lowry started liking this stuff. Or Cotton Carrier first is an A&R man, which was a legendary A&R man. Cotton, I had already knew him some, and Cotton was not going to give you a compliment unless he really believed it. I can promise you, he would send you out the door in a hurry. But he started taking a liking to that stuff, and he would take it up to Mr. Larry's office, and Mr. Larry liked it. And from that point, it got better and better. And then finally, me and Dave did this song, "You and the Lovin' You," and sent it to Cotton. And Mr. Larry loved that song so much. I remember he wanted to give it to Conway Twitty. And he said, well, if Conway don't record this one, we're going to release this on Southern Tracks label, which had, at that time, had Atlanta Rhythm Section, Jerry Reed, Bill Anderson, Alicia Bridges, Louis Gazard were all on that label.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Conway, of course, dies. Kind of, problem there. We
he
don't get
heard
a-
our song and keeled over.
He died.
No.
So
God
anyway,
rest his soul, Conway Twitty.
Mr. Terry Lowry, Bill Lowry's daughter, calls me one day and said, Mr. Lowry wants to release this. So we make arrangements to go to Lowry's studio to cut it. And we spend about a week doing that and Loving You, 2 songs that Lowry already had published.
And we were the first CD to
Release.
radio
We were.
release, right? It
Well,
was like prior to that release,
Yeah.
they would send
45s.
the demo 45s,
Yeah.
the promo 45s to the radio stations to be played.
But the day we finished the recording, we took it to Mr. Larry's office. It was late in the day, you remember, right before he was to go home. And he put it on, and he jumped up behind the desk, behind his chair, in his desk, and he started. I remember him saying, "God, this is going to be a big hit."
He was very
me
animated.
Me and Dave was sitting there, our eyes like, really?
Yes. We were trembling.
Yeah.
With
But he loved it, and his daughter
Bill
told
Lowry
me,
was big.
Yeah,
He was
big
big.
time.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was not only physically big, but this was the guy that had the company that
"Oh
did
man,
Young Love by
Yes,
Sonny
sir.
James,
Bebop-a-lula.
Bebop-a-lula.
well, he had the number one selling country
Atlanta Rhythm
record."
Section, Billy Joe Royal, Joe South.
You know, he
Just
finished
all
up
of these
at the 20th
groups.
century with the number one selling country record of the 20th century. Did you know that?
Rose Garden?
Walk On By, Leroy Van Dyke
Walk
was
on
the
by,
number one
Leroy Van
selling
Dyke.
country single of the 20th century.
Wow.
Wow.
Of course, in 60s, he ended up being the publisher of literally of the decade because
Yeah.
Joe South stuff was so, Games People Play was the most Grammy Award winning song in history in one night, of the Grammy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, anyway, we were in good company there.
But we were at the tail end.
We were at the
of it.
last of it.
We were at the
Nashville
tail
was
end of it.
really kind of closing up things along in that time. But Cotton told me before Cotton Carey died in 93, and about a year before Cotton died, he told me that some of those songs that was published, in his opinion, was some of the best stuff Bill Lowry ever published. Now, that was a compliment to come from most successful independent publisher in history. He sold the catalog in 2000 for $20 million, Bill Lowry's catalog. That's how impressive it was.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Beatles recorded songs from
So,
Bill Lowry.
getting back to the CD that they recorded on us, we went up there and laid down those two songs,
Yeah,
The Love in You
and
You, simply titled YOU. And we chose to name our group Hickory Wind. And we used studio musicians in Atlanta, some top-notch.
Gates Nichols.
Gates Nichols.
Who was
from
later Confederate Railroad's
Railroad.
pedal steel player. He did all the keyboard.
Yeah.
And
arranging.
And helped us produce it. And he had actually played keyboard on Henry Gross's Shannon.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was a very good musician.
And
he helped us
I
with
did
it.
all the vocals on it, and they wouldn't let me eat.
Now we eat sub sandwiches in front of Dave and wouldn't let him eat that day.
No. You got to do vocals. You can't eat.
What?
Yeah.
And guess who we were having lunch with?
But it paid off because I could hit the high
Guess who we
notes.
were having lunch with it in the top of the studio because he was doing keyboard tracks for Kansas, Steve Wash.
Wow.
He eat dinner with us every day, but he didn't seem to take much notice of us, did he?
No, he didn't have to. But we chose the name Hickory Wind. Of course, most of you Graham Parsons fans know that's pretty much Graham's signature song.
Yeah.
And that became just more or less the name of the group on the CD. We didn't really have a band or anything.
That's right.
So fast forward to
Well, I get this call
91.
in December of 1990.
Okay,
1990. I get this call, and I answer it, and this man on the phone says, "This is Ben Fong Torres. Is this Billy Ray Herrin?" And I thought it was Dave pulling my leg. So I think I said something like, "No, this is Paul McCartney." Well, then he said, "No, this is really Ben Fong Torres." And then I realized it really was Ben Fong Torres. So he says, I'm writing Graham Parsons' biography, and he goes on to tell me about Simon & Schuster's, one of the subsidiaries. Publishing it. And anyway, he said, Graham's told so many stories about his childhood that we don't know what the truth is. And we've, caught wind basically that the 12 years, and would you help me? And I said, yeah, I know Graham didn't tell, the truth from stories I'd read, And in fact, where I first realized Graham wasn't telling the truth was when I first opened up the record store, Sin City Records, a writers came down from Atlanta with a new magazine called Hitting the Note, did a story with me, and I told them what I knew. Well, they met Roger McGuinn up in Atlanta, and he'd give them a different story. So when the story comes out, it's not the same story I've told them. And I called them on the phone. I said, wait a minute, that's not what I told y'all. Well, that's what Roger told us.
So they went with him.
Well, they went halfway with him, halfway with me, and because they didn't know the truth. And that's when I realized Graham had told so many untruths.
Yeah.
So when Ben calls me, he's run into a number of untruths, and the president of the publishing company that was putting the book out was a big fan of Graham's, and he wanted the truth. He had seen too many stories.
Right.
That's how Ben got commissioned, I think, to write it. So anyway, he says, I'll come down in January and get with you. So he comes in January of 91. And one thing on the phone, I told him, I said, I'll take you to the house that Graham lived in. He said, well, it don't exist. I said, well, no, it does. I know where it's at. Well, everybody else says it don't exist. I said, well, I'll take you to it. So when he comes...
That's when you should have said, you want the truth?
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle it.
So when he comes, we go hang out in the studio for about a good day. Him and Holly George Warren was his associate writer.
Yeah.
And after we get through with the interviews, I said, well, you want to go see the house? And once again, he says, well, are you sure about the house? I've been told it don't exist. I said, well, it does. I've already called the guy that lives in it, and he's ready for us to go see it. And it was Wendell Dixon. And Wendell, was a big fan of Emmylou, and he remembered Coondog Connor, but he didn't realize Graham Connor had become Graham Parsons. But I told him the story, so he was prepared. So me and Holly and Ben get in my truck, and I drive them over there, and we get in the backyard, and we're leaned up kind of against my truck waiting for Wendell to show up. And Wendell's over there messing around in that practice house over there. And I was just joking. I said, God, I hope we hadn't picked the wrong backyard, because it's not good to be in somebody's backyard in South Georgia. And Ben just stood straight up and said, I told you, Billy Ray, I don't think. I said, I'm joking, Ben, I'm joking. So Wendell walks around the corner and introduces each other, and we walk in the back door, which is like a little Florida room. And Ben notices the ceramic tile, and he says, Graham had parties in this little den, this little Florida room. Wendell said, yeah, it made the move, So he asked, he said, well, if this really is Graham Parsons' house, there was one closet that locked in it, and only one. Wendell said, there's only one that's in the hallway. So we go in the hallway. Wendell opens the door, and I'll never forget, Ben Fong looked up, and he saw where the gun barrels went against the wall. And he looked at Holly
rack.
George Warren, and he said, my God, this is Coondog Connor's gun closet. And every question after that, Ben was like in Twilight Zone, and I'm just amazed at his reaction. So turns out
you gave him the truth.
Yeah, it turns out that, like I'd told him, Graham's house wasn't destroyed. Wendell Dixon cut it in half, picked it up with I-beams, and put it back together out off of US 82.
Which is where it's still,
yeah,
it's still there today, and some new owners just purchased it last year.
That really affected Ben. He talked about it in every interview after that, and in the very early part of the book, he talked about it in a couple of places in the book.
Well, let me interject a couple of things for our viewers and listeners there. Ben Fong Torres, first of all, was a former editor for Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah.
Senior editor for Rolling Stone magazine. And in my opinion, I have a soft spot for that book that he wrote on Graham Parsons called Hickory Wind, The Life and Times of Graham Parsons. I have an affinity for that book because it was the first one to come out on Graham. But he is a great writer. And Billy Ray, on the other hand, talking about the 12 years that Ben Fong Torres said that they understood that Billy Ray was more or less an authority on that. When Ray and I discovered Graham Parsons in 1973, it was a few short months before Graham Parsons passed away, September 19th of 73. And at that point, this man right here took it upon himself to learn everything he could about Graham Parsons' 12 years in Waycross, Georgia. He was conceived in this town. His mother went back to the hospital in Winter Haven, where she was from, for the baby to be delivered. Then they immediately returned to Waycross and made a life here for Graham for 12 years. So he grew up in Waycross 12 years of his life. And Billy Ray talked to everybody from school teachers, piano instructors,
childhood friends.
Childhood friends.
Friends of the Connor family.
The Connor family is Graham's daddy, Coondog Connor, was the overseer of the warehouse in Waycross, Georgia, that built the crates for the Snively Groves. Graham's mother's family were millionaires in Winter Haven, Florida, Central Florida. They had the first huge citrus industry. They had the orange groves down there, and when Graham's daddy married Graham's mama, they said, "What are we going to do with this guy?" They said, "We'll stick him in Waycross, Georgia, and have him run the box factory that builds the crates and everything." Right. So he interviewed a lot of the workers that worked there at Snively Groves Box Factory, but he became pretty much the leading authority on Graham's childhood. And
well, actually, in '73, very few people, even in the music industry, didn't know much about Graham. General public, and the people in Waycross only remembered Graham Connor.
That's true too.
They didn't know that he'd become Graham Parsons. Only a few did.
Right.
And even the few that did know didn't understand his connection, because most people that didn't study music history didn't see that connection Graham Parsons had with the country rock explosion that took place, in the 70s and late 60s and early 70s. And most people just really didn't know what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So then I get the bright idea to open up a record store.
In 73?
In 74, actually.
74.
And name it Sin City Records after Graham's song Sin City off of the Flying Burrito Brothers album.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it don't go over so well in Waycross, as Ben Fong Torres said in the book. So I had to change the name to Happy Sack Records a year later. But it became the first gathering of Graham fans that started searching for Graham's history. Mm-hmm. And I got to notice some people from Gainesville coming up, and I started getting letters from overseas, like Scotland and Holland, people writing letters to me. So the Graham fan base was starting to grow, as the history was growing, as more things were being written about him, and the Eagles, and, Elvis Costello shows up in the late 70s, and that's all growing. And then...
Well, let's talk about the after the phone call, and Ben Fong Torres comes down to do the research for the book. And you show him the house and everything. Right. He goes back and writes the book.
And then he contacts me back for weeks and months, all the way up to the summer of 91. He calls me, because we didn't have internet then, so he was calling me and writing me letters. And I was helping him correct things he was finding out, kind of.
So how did the Chamber of Commerce of Waycross pick up on that this book was coming out?
Either Larry or Gary one got the story. I can't remember if it was Larry Purdom.
He's talking about Larry Purdom, a writer for the Waycross Journal-Herald, and my brother Gary Griffin, who was the managing editor of the local newspaper.
And they had found out Ben Fong had came to town to talk. And so... they start doing stories about the upcoming book. Well, the Chamber of Commerce sees an opportunity, because it starts getting national attention. Like the Larry King live show that me and you talked
Right,
on.
right. Ben Fong Torres was a guest
Yeah.
that summer for probably in June or July on one of Larry King's radio interviews. And, well, that's another story we'll get to in just a minute.
So the story starts getting out in national news, and the chamber wants to take advantage of it. Well, they've already got a Pogo Fest planned, which they do every year back then.
In October.
And they had Vern Goss and T. Graham Brown coming. So one of the director, I think she was tourist directors, Linda Lee, contacted me and said, how would y'all like to do a Graham Parsons tribute in conjunction with the Pogo Fest as an opening act? So that's when me and Dave, calls up all our buddies and puts together the Hickory Wind Band. Mm-hmm. And we start practicing at John Smith's house, the drummer. Mm-hmm. And, we have John Smith, Bill Smith, Tony Kaysen, George Farr, and Ronnie Griffin, and me and Dave.
And Debbie Thigpen.
And let me tell you what happens at John's house. It's always been strange, these strange things that happen with Graham. We're practicing in Judge Ben's art room, which John's daddy, Judge Ben Smith. We're practicing in the art room. Well, one day we come into the living room. We're all standing there, and we're all talking about the shoe games that went on amongst the adults.
Well, back up now and tell them about this house that John and John's family was living in.
Well, first
used to be owned by.
Well, first you got to get this. Okay, the shoe games went on in the 50s amongst the elite couples of Waycross, the swingers. Okay, well, I always knew it took place in a certain house. I don't know if I should say the name here or not, but might be better if I don't. Would it be?
Probably not.
Okay, a certain doctor's house.
Doctor's house.
And I'm sitting in there talking to John and telling him we're all standing in the corridor and laughing about the shoe games going on in this doctor's house. And John said, well, me, Daddy, and that doctor traded houses sometime after the Graham's daddy had committed suicide.
Probably in the
left town.
60s.
And I said, wait a minute. What do you mean? He said, well, this is the house that doctor owned. And it dawned on us, we're standing there. We're in the house where the shoe games went on. We're putting on the practice in the first tribute to Graham. Yeah. It was an eerie feeling.
In the house of the shoe game, yeah.
And the shoe game had a lot to do with some of the failure. Kundal's suicide came from a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Alcohol, marital problems and stuff. So
traumatic stress disorder from flying
what's the chance
in the
of
World
that?
War II.
What's the chance of you doing a tribute to Graham? You're standing in the house where it happened,
where the shoe game happened. Yeah,
and anyway,
that's pretty cool.
So we worked for 6 months on 12 songs to preparing ourselves to play at the tribute, and.
So that was the birth of Hickory Wind, the band.
Yeah.
And the next thing that happened, I guess, that year was Larry King interview. And Justin, I believe that's on the thumb drive. And it'll probably say that in the files.
Can we take a break and come back?
Yeah, sure.
While he's getting this pulled up?
Yeah, folks, we'll be right back with some Larry King Show.
Something in my brain won't let me stray. Something in my veins gonna find its way. Something in the water taught me how to pray.
Hey, folks, we're back, And as promised, we're going to play a little clip. Back in the summer of 91, Larry King radio show had as his interview guest the author of Hickory Wind, Life and Times of Gram Parsons that we've been discussing the first half, Mr. Ben Fong Torres. You were talking about...
For those that aren't
familiar with who Ben Fong Torres is.
And maybe you've seen this movie, but he was depicted in Almost Famous.
Cameron Crowe.
The Cameron Crowe movie.
There's also a new documentary on him now called Like a Rolling Stone that's just come out.
That's cool.
On Ben Fong Torres' history.
Oh, really?
All right.
Yeah.
That'll be one to watch. So we're going to get right into this. Justin, roll that beautiful Ben footage.
A journalist. He is Ben Fong Torres of the Rolling Stones magazine. He's done lots of interviews and lots of features on lots of people. He's a feature writer for the San Francisco Chronicle. Once did a piece on me, for which I really feel honored. His new book is Hickory Wind, The Life and Times of Gram Parsons. We'll be back after the news. We thank Don Sutton. This is the Larry King Show, and this is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Boom. That was the intro. We're going to fast forward now in order to set this up just a hair further. Billy Ray and I, we both knew that this show was coming on, and it was coming on in the middle of the night, like about 1 or 2 a.m. And you were at your house. I was at my house. And we both, neither one of us discussed prior to the show that, like, are you going to call in? Are you going to call in? No, we didn't discuss that at all. We just made that decision when we heard him say,
Taking calls
in just a few minutes. So we didn't work. I worked up the courage to call in, and you did the same thing from your house. And this is what you're going to hear is the end result of that. They put us both on hold. They ask you, they take your call. They say, "Who are you and where are you from?" So I told them, Dave Griffin, Waycross, Georgia. You said the same thing. Billy Ray Herrin, Waycross, Georgia. And then they immediately put you on hold and say, "We'll bring you in a minute," you know. So we're sitting there on hold listening, and then they open up the phone lines, and Larry King says, "Our first caller is from Waycross." And so that could have been either one of us, right? Mm-hmm. And the story goes that Ray opened his mouth to speak and heard my voice coming out of the radio. So anyhow, okay, go ahead.
Look, Hickory Wind is written by Ben Fong Torres, who has 12 years as a writer and editor at Rolling Stones. He interviewed hundreds of musicians, including Bob Dylan, Paul Simon, and Emmylou Harris and Paul McCartney. He's uniquely qualified to write Hickory Wind. He wrote the Motown album, The Sound of Young America, and is the editor of numerous musical anthologies. Ben Fong Torres, back to your phone calls. New Orleans, hello.
Wow, what a pleasure to speak with you, Ben.
Hi, thanks.
This is a subject of, that I'm very much interested in. I will definitely buy your book. I think that those duets with Emmylou Harris were probably the best, finest country duets I've ever heard. And I wanted to, if you could tell a little bit about their relationship and about how his death affected her, and with regard to the song Boulder to Birmingham.
Okay, Ben.
When he died, she didn't react visibly from, according to an eyewitness, her former boyfriend, Tom Geider, who was a musician with her, too, here in Washington, D.C. It took her about a year to recover. She went back and played the club circuit again around D.C., and in interviews after she began her solo career, which was an immediate hit. First of all, she's a very lovely woman. She's a fantastic singer on her own or in harmony with various partners. And she has a wonderful choice of music. And she says it's all due to Gram Parsons. In those first interviews, she always took care to ascribe much of what she knew and her attitude towards the encyclopedic and cyclical nature of music to Gram. And when she talks about Graham, she tends to get quite emotional. I did an interview with her, and she talked about feeling like she had fallen off a cliff almost, thinking about him. She talked about her musical passion with him. She has always refrained from talking about the personal relationship. In the book, I try to get to it, whether or not there ever was a love affair. Graham at the time was married. Emmylou had a boyfriend. Of course, in the late 60s and early 70s, that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Do you suspect they did?
If I had to bet money right now, from having talked to a lot more people since writing the book, I might go on to that side of it, yes.
Nashville for Ben Fong Torres. Hello.
Hello. Ben, I was wondering if you were familiar or if you had spoken to Sid Griffin, another biographer of Graham, or if you're familiar with a band from Minneapolis called the Jayhawks. Thank you.
Okay. First, in terms of Sid Griffin, I spoke with him early on in the process of researching the book. He put together really more of a collection of essays and previous interviews of and about Graham, transcripts. The book was mostly photographs of Graham, a great collection of photographs. And so, to me, it was more of a scrapbook and a fan's perspective.
Waycross, he mentioned the band. Had you ever heard of that band?
Oh, the Jayhawks? I hadn't, but there are a lot of Graham Parsons devoted bands around now.
Waycross, Georgia. Hello.
Hey, Ben. This is Dave Griffin.
From the Waycross Journal-Herald?
From Waycross, Georgia. No, that's my brother. From
Oh.
Herald. I am Billy Ray Herrin's songwriting partner.
Oh, yes.
Of Hickory Wind, the band.
Hello, Waycross.
Yeah, it's good to hear you, and we appreciate the book and everything, and we're looking forward to having you down here October 19th for the first annual Graham Parsons Memorial Tribute.
Part of the Pogo Fest.
Yeah, part of the Pogo Fest, and really hope you're going to be able to make it.
Now, Waycross has just recently come around to understand and to pay respect to Graham Parsons. Why do you think it has taken until now?
That's a good question. Ray and I, Billy Ray and myself have kind of tried to further the cause as much as we can, through our music and everything. And I don't know, maybe it was because of the drugs and everything. Maybe they just wanted to kind of turn a blind eye to all of that for so many years. But to tell you the truth, I don't think that many people really knew whatever happened to Graham.
That's right. And Billy Ray now has a band called Hickory Wind.
Right. But really do appreciate the book and everything. And
oh, thank you very much.
hope to meet you in person.
Thank you. Ben Fong Torres, the guest. The book is Hickory Wind. Another call from Waycross, Georgia. What are the odds on that? Hello.
Hello, Ben.
Hey.
This is Billy Ray.
Well, here's Billy Ray himself.
How you doing?
The guy's brother?
The guy's
On
brother.
that. Go ahead.
Well, Dave.
Hey,
No, not brother.
No?
Co-writer.
Co-writer.
Well, David's told you pretty much what I was going to tell you. I
Oh, well.
calling, but one more thing I want to tell you. Graham's daughter, Polly, and her band is going to perform at the tribute this year.
In Waycross?
Right.
Right,
Along
okay.
with Vern Gosden, T. Graham Brown, and the Normaltown Flyers, and our band, Hickory Wind.
Sounds good.
And just want to congratulate you on the book. I have really enjoyed it, and you should start seeing some reviews. Larry Purdom, the writer here, is working now on his review.
Well, thank you. Billy Ray was a pivotal figure in the research of the book, by the way. He himself has been a Graham Parsons fan for a good number of years and led Holly George Warren, my researcher, and I to the house that Graham had been raised in, which the entire town who knew the Connor family thought had either been burned down or exploded in 1968, about 10 years after the Connor family had left. In fact, it had been saved and relocated to the outskirts of town, and I was able to go into the house and look through Graham's bedroom, his sister's bedroom, the
Where
porch.
was the family made money where?
The family's money primarily came from the mother's side. The Snively family of Central Florida were the owners and producers of a good number of citrus plantations.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania, with Ben Fong Torres, the author of Hickory Wind. Hello.
Hi, Ben. Even though I'm about the same age as Graham Parsons was, I wasn't really a fan when he was alive, and instead I came to become a fan by being a fan of the Rolling Stones and, of course, Emmylou Harris. And I'm just wondering, who were his musical idols? Who did he follow?
He followed pretty much the history of popular music, primarily rock and roll, rhythm and blues, and, of course, country. I believe that as a teenager, he began to hear real hard Ray Charles. As a country fan, he studied the pioneers of Western swing, bluegrass, and gospel. He was a big fan of Buck Owens's and George Jones's, and he also understood what the Beatles and Dylan were up to, too. So he was a good student of all kinds of music.
Our guest is Ben Fong Taurus. The
That's
book
a
is
good
Hickory
spot
Run, The Life and Times of Graham Parsons, published...
So, it sounded just like us, didn't it?
It did.
How come Larry King sounds like Larry King, but y'all sound like the Chipmunks?
Yeah.
We sounded like babies.
Yeah. He had a better microphone.
That was 1991, back when they had these effects on radio where they could make you sound like...
yeah, we had a telephone microphone.
We did sound a lot younger.
Yeah.
Voices were higher.
When you got the soup can and the string, it gets a little squeezed when you get to
the South Georgia accent.
But that was quite funny because we were both sitting on hold, unbeknownst to one another. And,
I bet Ray was cussing you when that happened. That son of a...
Ray said, I wanted to be first.
Is that his brother?
Call Dave.
We thoroughly confused.
Call Dave to hang up. It's my turn.
We thoroughly confused the suspenders on Larry King that night. We twisted his suspenders up in a knot. He was not. He was having a hard time trying to figure out. What are the odds on that? Jesus. What's the guy's brother? Well, okay, so that happened in, approximately June, July, somewhere August possibly.
91.
Of 91. Then you were involved with the chamber with constant meetings leading up to.
I got a phone call from Linda. And she wanted to know if I'd put a band together to open up and a Graham Parsons tribute in conjunction with Pogo Fest.
Yeah.
So I started going to a few meetings with the chamber, and they were all excited. The book hadn't came out yet, and which I warned them. I said, when the book comes out, there's going to be some dark moments in Graham Parsons' life. Well, that's all right, because, Elvis Presley did drugs, Hank Williams did drugs, this and that. I said, okay. I'm just warning y'all, when the book comes out, there'll be some dark moments. Mm-hmm. Well, carries on. The really surprising thing, the Atlanta Constitution catches wind of our event, and they come down. Charles Walston comes down and does a 2 full-page story, which is unlike. You fold out, you got Waycross, Georgia for 2 full pages. And he was a big Graham fan, Charles was. Yeah. And they were all excited about that. That was the biggest publicity Waycross had had in years. Mm-hmm. So all this is going on, and right before the concert, which is in October, Ben Fong's book comes out. What month was it? Right before it.
September.
Maybe. And, they all read the book. Some of the chamber people do, and their wives and stuff. Oh, they're alarmed because Graham's done drugs with Keith Richards and all this stuff, and they're all upset, and they call a meeting. I go to it. Well, you know what? If we'd known this before, we wouldn't be promoting this, Well, I told y'all before, remember? Well, that's all right, but, anyway, we carry it on, and they said, we'll never do this again. Right?
Yeah.
Which gives me and Dave the edge to do something in his backyard, a few years later.
That didn't even enter into my head as far as what ended up doing in 98. But in the back of my mind, it probably served as a subliminal kind of a thing.
We draw the largest crowd Waycross has ever had for a concert.
Like 8,000 people showed up.
They've never had anything compared to this. And it wasn't just because of Graham, but it was the combination. But a lot of Graham fans showed up.
Right.
that weren't fans of T. Graham Brown and Vern Gosling. They were coming from
Ray
the Graham.
Harris came down
Yeah.
from Canada.
A lot of people showed up.
A disc jockey from Canada came down.
And we put together a band of the best musicians we knew personally in the area and practiced for those 6 months and put together a pretty good show for what you consider an amateur band.
And didn't you say the Braves was in the World Series?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It was like y'all still had a huge turnout with the Braves going in the
That's
World
right.
Series.
Sure
let me do just a couple of paragraphs from Tale of the Week right here. This kind of sets it all up. Larry Purdom strolled to the microphone to welcome the 8,000 plus in attendance at Waycross, Georgia's Memorial Stadium. It was the night of October 19th, 1991. Game 1 of the World Series featuring the worst to first Atlanta Braves versus the worst to first Minnesota Twins. It was also the night of a Graham Parsons tribute concert sponsored by the Waycross Ware County Chamber of Commerce. So that's basically the setup right there.
Right.
And show the from the video, show the ad that advertised the tribute concert. Well, Waycross, Georgia had a cable access television station, and it was quite good. The quality of that would be the very beginning of that CD right there that you're on, the very beginning, so there's no numbers there. And this was the ad advertising the tribute concert, so you have to bear with us on the video because it's straight off VHS.
The Graham Parsons Tribute Concert, October 19th at 7 o'clock at Memorial Stadium during Pogo Fest 91, starring Vern Gosden. I come to the garden. Also with T. Graham Brown. You can't take it with you. You can't take. Opening the show will be the Normaltown Flyers and Hickory Wind. Advanced general admission tickets are available from area flash food locations.
Must not have known about Polly at the time.
$8 at the gate. Every ticket registers you for a trip for two to Cancun, Mexico, to the all-inclusive Club Las Vegas via Key Air. Or send your name, address, and phone number on a 3x5 index card to this address, and we'll enter you in the drawing for the trip. The Graham Parsons Tribute Concert, October 19th at 7 o'clock during Pogo Fest 91. Brought to you by Coors Light, Flash Foods, Pepsi, Cellular One, WBGA, and WBSG TV 21.
Boom. There it was, folks.
Can we pull it back to that picture of the band?
There's a better picture from my Tale of the Week
I
pics.
know, but I never saw that picture, and it
I
went by so quick.
I need to tell you how Polly came into this, too. That was important.
Go ahead and pull that picture up while Ray's talking about,
I need to tell you how
just
Polly...
before that.
Yeah.
The Hickory Wind picture.
Or send your name, address, and phone number on a 3x5 index card to this address.
It's too hard.
It's
before that.
It's back before that. It's okay. You have to go forward there. But anyhow, if you'll notice on the ad, it did not mention Graham's daughter, Polly Parsons, at all, and she came into the picture.
Well, what happened? I got a phone call one day.
It doesn't matter. Just
It's coming up right here.
Opening the show will be the Normaltown Flyers and Hickory Wind.
Right there.
Look at us. We got dark hair, Dave.
It looks like our voices are higher, too.
We got dark beards, Dave.
Look at that black beard.
I got my Jimmy Buffett shirt on.
You was already getting a little gray in your beard right there.
Ray, you look like Ty Manning right there.
Yeah. Kinda.
From the left.
You know we're kin.
From
anyway,
the left.
You know me and Ty's kin on both sides.
Oh, well, there you go.
His mom and daddy come to Herrin's and the Morgan.
For those of y'all that are watching and not listening,
yeah.
On the left is George Farr, owner of Farr's Fine Furniture.
Yeah.
Next to him is Tony Cason.
Yeah.
Fine instrumentalist. Back there in the back with the bolo tie is John Randall Smith. He was a guest on one of our earlier episodes. right next to him is there you are.
There I am.
That's Billy Ray Herrin and me right behind him in a 10-gallon hat.
I thought that was Kenny Loggins.
Yeah.
And on the far right there is Ronnie Griffin.
Yeah.
The celebrated guitar luthier.
Yeah.
From Waycross, Georgia.
That's it.
The Martin guitar repairman for these parts.
Yeah.
But that was us. That was the Hickory Wind Band.
Yeah. And Polly actually opened the act, and how that come about, I get a phone call one day, and it's Pamela DeBar, the famous
groupie.
I'm with the band groupie.
Yeah, she was a groupie
and she
out in
had got
California.
my number somehow, called me, and wanted to, said she was managing Polly Parsons' band, which was called She, and wanted to arrange for them to come play. And I called Linda Lee and them up and told them, and so that was all arranged. And they, they didn't pay anybody to play. They just covered their rooms and stuff. So
wow.
So Polly and them came. Well, nobody got paid but the main acts, T. Graham and Vern Gosling and Normal Town Flowers. We played for free. And so
Polly came
and
played for free?
Yeah. And that's how Polly ended up at it. So she was evidently before the advertisement there.
Well, let's see. What's next on that? Let me hold that case.
Let me hold $1.
Oh. Here's, let's go to about 94 minutes in, and there will be a pre-concert interview with Billy Ray and Tony Cason, with the one of the hosts of the cable access television station at the time was Lou Essex.
One T. Graham Brown laughed about.
General admission tickets are
He laughed
from
about
area
this?
flash foods.
T. Graham, he was watching it on his bus, and I didn't realize I walked off in the middle of the interview because I heard somebody call for sound check, and I just walked off because it was really some.
I think it's right after the helicopter.
Lou wasn't the most informative interviewer, and it was. I can't remember what it was T. Graham said, but he sent word for me. And I went to his bus, me and John Smith did. And
There we go.
I remember when he come off the bus, he said, man, he said, that was cool as hell. You walked away from that idiot interview and you're right in the middle of the interview. And I didn't realize I had done it.
Okay, here's the interview that Ray's talking about right here.
That's a damn Black Hawk.
Yeah. I'm telling you, this was well put together. This was a period of time when Waycross was kicking on all cylinders right in here.
Wonderful Waycross at the bottom.
TV station, radio was
Y'all had
good.
adjectives and everything for Waycross back then.
Wonderful.
Wonderful Waycross.
We've got Scott, of course, he and Les are up on top of
And these Pogo Fest events were well attended.
Is that Blue Thunder?
They had Charlie Daniels headlined one year.
Yeah.
There it goes. Les is giving us the signal. They've got the rotors going. Okay. So I think they're ready to go.
Okay. So
Rotor.
You are watching the
Hardly.
helicopter preparatory to taking off.
Preparatory.
She said they got the rotors going. Ain't nothing going. This is
That was fast.
yeah. They're quick like a bunny.
Questions about it have sat right in the helicopter itself and have inspected it closely. It's a marvelous machine.
This is
and
totally
will
90s.
be airborne on its way back
This
to
is before
Air Force
CGI,
Base.
folks.
Okay, here we are at Pogo Fest 91. And we have two distinguished guests with us this afternoon. We've got to my left Tony Cason, and we have to my right Billy Ray
Herrin.
Billy Ray Herrin. And these gentlemen are a part of a great group known as Hickory Wind, and they will be performing here tonight as part of the Graham Parsons Memorial Concert along with Vern Gosden and many others. And come on in a little bit, fellas. They want to get a close-up of us, and I guarantee you my deodorant's
Ray?
working, so don't feel bad. First of all, Tony...
Ray, you got that rock star swagger.
I guess all total about 2 months.
About 2 months? And what instrument do you play?
Pedal steel and lead guitar.
Pedal steel and lead guitar. That's nothing like the Apache helicopter, is it?
Not quite as complicated.
Tony looked more like the micro machines commercial guy.
Looking forward to the
Talk real
Graham
fast.
Parsons concert tonight, which will begin
Micro
at
machines.
about 6:30. And what kind of music do you make?
Country music, the best kind.
The best kind? There ain't no... You like a little bit of gospel once in a while?
If you listen real hard, you might hear a little bit of gospel in there.
Well, let's talk to Billy Ray Herrin. Billy Ray, come on in here, buddy, if you will.
Sure.
And I know that you fellas have been real busy tuning up and getting everything in order. That's a tremendous sound system you've got up there.
Right, yeah. It's brought in by a company out of Michigan.
And you know what's so amazing? It takes them a long time to set it up. Okay. And I know that you musicians...
I'll take your word on that.
That's exactly right.
How long have you been with Hickory Wind?
Well, we started the group, I guess, about 3 or 4 months ago. Brought Tony in about 2 months ago, and we cut a CD under Bill Lowry's label, and that was released last September. Me and Dave Griffin did, and then this concert came about. The tribute did from the book that was written about Graham, that was released in July on Simon & Schuster's, which, by the way, was entitled Hickory Wind. But we had the name Hickory Wind about 6 months before that. And so we put a group together, and we decided to pick the best musicians in South Georgia. Tony Kaysen had to fit the bill there.
How many musicians make up Hickory Wind?
We got Bill Smith guitar, John Smith drums, Tony Kaysen guitar and steel guitar, Dave Griffin acoustic, myself acoustic, George Farr keyboard, and we've got a female vocalist, Debbie Thigpen, that'll do some harmonies on some songs, and Linda Lee will do a special song that Emmylou Harris wrote about Graham Parsons.
She did a good job
on that. Special feature.
Yeah.
Linda Lee with the Chamber of Commerce.
You mentioned George Farr. How'd you get him out of the furniture store?
Well, he thought he could sell more furniture up here.
Let me ask something, Billy Ray.
Everything's on sale.
Where did the name Hickory Wind come from?
You got
Hickory
him
Wind was a song
bumfuddled.
Graham wrote. He recorded with the Byrds back in '68 on the legendary Sweetheart of the Rodeo album that was officially the first country rock album ever recorded. In fact, the country group Sweethearts of the Rodeo named themselves in honor of Graham. And the song just kind of carried on. It is kind of considered the first blending of country rock. The song kind of was the seed that the groups like the Eagles and Alabama
You're so over
and
his
now
head
the whole country
right
music business is based around what Graham
big
created
speakers over
in the
there.
late '60s.
He really did a job, didn't he? Let
really
me
did
ask
a
you,
job, didn't
Tony,
He really
you fellas
did a
do a lot of
job.
traveling?
I do a lot of traveling between Blackshear and Waycross, a lot here the last couple of months playing with the band. I sure have.
How's the CD doing?
Well, there again, Ray's the expert on that. I've heard the CD, and it sounds very good, and it's been playing around the country. As a matter of fact, it gets played regularly overseas in like Holland and quite a few other countries over there. You know, it's like someone has to leave their own country to become famous and then come back, and then all of a sudden, hey, you're discovered.
Well, is WBGA playing it?
I don't know.
Well, you better get on Mr. Squires.
Let's get on Mr. Squires. We'll get him to play.
Here's a little clip of Polly Parsons in the beautiful gold nudie suit and her band She, which was named after another Graham Parsons Chris Etheridge composition off of solo album.
What is that backdrop with those bars?
That's bleachers.
It's bleachers.
Yeah. That's the bleachers on the visitor side.
So the stage is that far back?
Yeah.
The stage was aimed back at
Yeah, because that whole ground was full of people. They let everybody sit in the field out there.
Everybody's sitting in the field.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Okay, here we are surrounded by some flyers. Not pilots, these are the normal town flyers, and they are here at Pogo Fest 91 to be a part of the Graham Parsons.
These guys were out of
Memorial
Athens,
Concert. Well, I'll
Georgia.
tell you right now, They look more like bouncers in some nightclub to me, but they
Call us at our work. Sound check.
The sound check. We don't have our makeup on yet.
The sad news about these fellas being here today is they have just learned. Oh no! I don't want to bring this up. They have just learned that a moment of Georgia lost today to Vanderbilt, 27-25.
It was a tough loss.
Okay, let's introduce ourselves.
I'm Cal Hill. I'm the drummer.
Greg Veal, I play bass and sing some.
I'm Dave Blackman, guitar and fiddle.
I'm Brian Burke, guitar and singer.
Oh boy! Now let's find out, where did this name Newtown Flyers come from?
Normaltown.
Normaltown.
There's a neighborhood in Athens, Georgia, and it's called Normaltown, and there's a little club there where we play sometimes, and it's a cool sounding name, so we liked it. The Flyers sounded good with it, so Normaltown Flyers.
Yep, that's right.
Let me ask you this: how long have you guys been together?
This particular unit, about 5 or 6 years. The band, as an entity, of one form or another, about 12 years.
Is that right? That's a long time, boy. That's real togetherness. And what kind of music do we play?
We're a country band.
Country?
Yeah, it's a little upbeat country. We got a lot of different influences. We've all a lot of different backgrounds musically, but we've all blended this together in our form of country music.
I thought, being from Athens, you know, the college town, you go for rap.
They kind of call us pickup truck rock and roll.
Pickup truck rock and roll?
Yeah, rock and roll. That's it.
Let me ask, how did you fellas get together?
We've the three of us have been playing together since the early '70s, on and off, and we just just kind of a little collective community musicians, and just started playing, and ended up as this.
Do you play a lot of gigs?
We've had a real busy summer, and the fall's looking real good. We went to Canada and out west this summer, and Midwest, and we just look ready for that phone to ring for that next gig.
Hey, that's great. What time y'all going on tonight?
I think, 7:30 or between 7:30 and 8?
Yeah, probably about 7:45, because the last group we talked to is going on about 7. And what can the folks look forward to tonight? So give us some of the songs you play.
Oh, we're going to play Rockin' the Love Boat, which is our first single, and we'll probably be playing a little pickup truck rock and roll, Can't Fall in Love Again, and many other original highlights. And you never know, we might throw in a Hank Williams tune.
Do you get the folks out there to and this?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You get a lot of audience participation?
We try to.
We're going to do our best.
That's right.
We might throw the old chop in there tonight.
Hey, that's right. You better get the chop in there.
Go Braves.
Go Braves. Let me ask you this now. Do you have any? Have you made any discs, or have you cut any?
Yeah. Our first album came out around the 1st of June this year. We're on Mercury Polygram.
Mercury Polygram. What's the title of your album?
Nashville. It's Normaltown Flyers.
Normaltown Flyers. And is it available in all record stores?
It certainly
They
is.
also had a
World,
video
Yeah. Now you guys have to go
on
back
CMT rotation. Rocking the Love Boat. Is that one?
You don't notice, audience out there. They'll love your singing, but they'll notice you haven't shaved.
Well, like I say, there's a heap of sadness in this world. They might have got hit with a little bit of it tonight.
I love that line.
There's a heap of sadness in this world.
I've tried to remember that throughout my life.
Then he reached up and felt his face like, how?
That's the first I ever heard it was this. There's a heap of sadness in this world. They might have just got hit by a little bit.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Now, this is coming up with our band, a little clip from our band, which I think we might be able to do the whole concert. I'm not sure, but that's lack of audio there as Larry Purdom is introducing the folks to, welcoming the folks to the concert, fixing to introduce us. Dig that buzz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people.
There was a buzz about Graham Parsons going around in 91.
There were a lot of people in the stands too, Sean.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they had them open for both, so you had them.
Is that y'all?
Yeah. This is Hickory Wind. We're doing The Lovin' You, song that Bill Lowry published.
That was a hit. We just never hit.
Okay, that's about it there for that particular disc. Now,
Well, it's a beautiful.
The other disc that you found, we were thinking that it wasn't going to work, and Justin, just this afternoon,
just in time,
we call him.
Just in time, right there.
Discovered what was wrong, and and I can't recall at all. I couldn't get it to work at home, so I wasn't able to categorize it or sequence it into any kind of order. So this is all going to be.
This is all Billy Ray's naked baby pictures.
Well, they weren't any.
So we'll be seeing this for the first time in 25 or 30 years, Billy Ray and myself, and Sean and Justin have never seen it in their life.
Nice. That just turned into Mark Holland.
This is
that you, Dave?
This is pre-concert videos of the band She.
Jimmy
Thrillquill. This guy right here on the left is Mark Holland.
Yeah, old Mark.
Notorious, famously, another Graham Parsons historian from Tampa, Florida, who
hung himself.
Started a bed and breakfast, opened up a bed and breakfast in Tampa called Graham's Place. And he was a huge Graham Parsons fan, and I think he ran into some financial problems with the bed and breakfast over the years, with taxes and fighting the city ordinances and so forth and so on. And the guy was a beautiful soul, but he was fragile, and he ended up hanging himself as a result, I think, of the financial issues, tax problems or something. It's a shame.
I didn't know that.
I went down there and stayed in there one time, and I think we got some footage of our trip down there, pretty sure, on this tape. But
that's a 1991 haircut if I ever seen one.
This guy right here was the lead singer for Polly's band, Jimmy Thrillquill.
I think he was Pamela's boyfriend at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Polly, Graham Parsons' daughter.
Now, who's videoing this?
It was Mark Holland, wasn't it? Or whoever he brought with him.
Polly, you don't have to do anything. Oh, I don't. All you have to do is be Polly.
That's Mark talking.
That's Mark Holland talking.
The living legacy.
She sure is pretty, girl.
You look great. You look great.
They got Emmy Lou on the TV. How'd that happen? CMT? CMT was very big at the time. 91.
I couldn't have been on VHS or anything. I mean, it could have been, but it's in a hotel, so.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the nudie suit. Yeah, that's the dude at the door is Mark Holland's pal from Tampa. He was recording a while ago. John something.
Yeah.
I forgot your name. Wayne. No, that. Wayne. I'm real bad with names. Like I'm so bad.
I can't remember who this guy is.
Try and remember, Didn't work.
Ray Harris.
This is Ray Harris, disc jockey from Canada.
No, wait, Ray Harris.
Ray Harris.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He played it. He's played it at our festivals several times.
What is in a name?
That's a mullet.
There's Larry Purdom.
Waycross, Georgia.
Yeah.
Billy Ray. Beautiful day. Loved every minute of it. We'll shoot you with you and John with Billy Ray.
It's an exciting time. Big night.
You got something to say to Tampa? Tampa. You're with. See you on March the 14th, 1992.
Believe it or not, Tampa, this is deep south. When you cross the Florida line, you go north.
Me?
You go north. Cut.
Nancy. Polly.
Nancy.
Thank you.
Polly.
Nancy. Nancy's good. Hi, Mom.
Say hello to Mom.
I love you so much.
Say hello to Cece.
Hi, Cece. I love you too.
Say hello to Graham.
Hi, Daddy.
Backstage at Memorial Stadium.
Waycross, Georgia, welcome for the living legacy, Polly Parsons.
Who is that announcing? You remember?
Yeah.
Is that Dave?
He's
the chamber guy?
No, he was the disc jockey. You don't remember what happened with him later?
You get drunk?
Are we live now?
Yeah.
I have to tell you later.
Yeah. The guy in the blue nudie suit there reminds me of John Lennon.
Running liner. 30 years ago, folks. It's funny, we're playing this video now. It's what we're going to be doing tonight at the 24th annual Graham Parsons virtual guitar pool.
Right.
We're going to be doing videos. This is a prelude to our virtual event coming up tonight. I encourage everybody to come on back and watch us again. We'll be on Facebook Live.
All kind of acts we're going to be playing.
Oh my gosh, we got about 30 acts that I know of, and there's liable to be more by the time we get to tonight. Pine Box Dwellers will be there. Billy Ray's gonna do a video. Over here off camera is Billy Ray's grandson, Ashton Herrin. He's gonna be performing a song or two. I'm gonna be doing one. All the people who have performed at the live festival in the past, many of them. Nancy Northrup from California. Donna Frost from Nashville, Susan Hall from North Carolina, David Cry from New Paltz, New York.
Yeah.
The current owner of the Martin guitar that Graham and Bob wrote Hickory Wind on. Bob
Buchanan, who just passed away.
He did?
Yeah.
Yeah, this year.
Oh.
David Cry owns the guitar that Hickory Wind was written on, which is pretty special. And I believe that David will be performing Hickory Wind on that guitar on his video tonight.
Yeah.
Marlon Brackett from up around Marietta, Greg Henderson.
Crabgrass Cowboys.
The Crabgrass Cowboys out of Tampa, Florida. Oh, God, I know I'm leaving a lot off. I don't have a list to go by, and there's so many. Pie Country Band, two fellas from South America. Excellent Graham fans and followers of Graham's music, following in the footsteps all the way down from South America. Ian Dunlop, the original bass player for the International Submarine Band, Graham's bandmate for years.
And Larry Murray.
Ian Dunlop from Cornwall, England. Larry Murray will be debuting a set of his from the 2019 Graham Parsons Tribute Live here in Waycross.
Classic song, Six White Horses.
Larry Murray was an incredible, and another one from Waycross, Georgia. Waycross and Blackshear. He grew up here and went west, and
I made a YouTube playlist of all the artists that recorded his songs that I found on YouTube. You know how many major artists I found? 28.
Wow.
Major artists recorded Larry Murray's songs, and 28 of them I found on YouTube. You think about it.
There were 28 different songs. Was it?
It was probably close to 20 different songs. Some of them were duplicates.
And
that was major artists who recorded Larry Murray's songs.
Right, and stylistically, too. I mean, you went from Percy Sledge to Chris Christopherson.
Yeah, to Olivia
Newton-John. Johnny Cash.
Ricky Nelson.
My God, he was something else as far as what he accomplished.
And that just scratched the surface of what
and so
did.
Very down to earth.
Yeah.
He's another he was legendary figure that we're very proud to know and very proud of.
And he watched
coming from here.
He watched Graham's, some of Graham's development. He was there at Clarence White's funeral when Graham broke into Farther Along, and Larry told me after the funeral they all gathered up somewhere at somebody's house or something, and Larry said he remembers Graham being just so messed up at the funeral and after the funeral, and just sad and messed up at the same time. But they were all, basically everybody was saying, well, he's going to be next. Well, 2 months later, he was next. Yeah.
So there we go. We got all of these artists coming on.
Connected to Waycross.
And they're coming on tonight. And they'll
Something in the Water.
It'll be hosted by Something in the Water co-host right here on the annual Graham Parsons Guitar Pull and Tribute Festival Facebook page. 8 o'clock tonight, Eastern Standard Time. We hope that y'all will tune in and watch.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the 1991 Memorial Tribute featuring Polly Parsons.
My dad did them all, and we hope you like them. Well, I hope that the man you find yourself with gets drunk and loses his job. In every road that you travel on, it's to see right here home. You never true. So all in all, it hurts to fall.
playing all that lead? Which
The
one
guitar
was
player
that?
was good. The guitar player was good. Yeah.
That's not this guy in the blue.
It's not John Lennon.
No, he's rhythm.
No, it's the
Somebody
other guy.
over here is.
Yeah, the guitar player was good.
Is that
guitar.
him with the black hat on back
Yeah,
there?
I see him.
Yeah, that's him. Is that an old Waylon song? Is that a Waylon Jennings song? That's a Buck Owens song, isn't it? Under Your Spell Again? Yeah. That was nice.
It was a good medley.
Yeah. That's the old. Well, hell, everybody cut that song. Just to the left of this stage, down the football field, and over the wall is Williams Heights Elementary School, where Graham went to school back in the day. Of course, it's not the same building now, but it's the same site. It was a wooden schoolhouse.
Anyway, Cross, Georgia. God bless each and every one of you for being here tonight. Goodbye.
I went to pick Polly up in Valdosta and brought her two-way cross. Yeah, they played a club. They were trying to play clubs along the way to raise money, and I drove her to Valdosta and picked her up. And the rest of the band must have come in what they were traveling, but she came the way across in my van. She fell asleep in her. She was really tired. And took her to that Super 8 motel over there where Chamber had rented for them. She called me up the morning after the concert and apologized to me for the way some of her band members acted. I ever told you that story?
What they act like?
Was their egos out of control?
Well, what happened was I went up to their motel room and they were complaining about them being the opening act and not us being the opening act, and they were calling us a cover tune band, and I said, well, wait a minute, we got a contract with Lowry Music Company on Southern Tracks record label. What have y'all got? Well, after we performed, that lead guitar player and Polly came to me and said, listen, we want to apologize to you. We didn't realize how good your band was. And the next morning, when it was time for them to load up and go, Polly called me on the phone, and she said, I want to apologize to you for some of the actions of some of the other band members, especially that bass player. And I drove down to the motel and stood there and talked to him for a long time, and hugged her and said goodbye to her and all. And
Yeah.
I think Larry raised some money for her. Larry Murray, I'm sorry,
Larry
Larry
Purdom.
Purdom raised some money for him.
Good old Larry.
To
He's
get to
good
Nashville
like
because
that.
they didn't have any money. They were stuck in old Waycross again, like
That's
Lodi,
pretty
you
good
know?
there. They did a little emotional thing. She was probably fairly emotional about this. Would have had to been her first and probably only trip to her daddy's
Well, you know what she told me?
hometown.
Let me tell you, the night I took him to the motel room and I was helping her tote all her stuff in, we were walking in, and she wanted to know where all her family members were in Waycross. I said, Polly, you don't have any family members here. She said, I thought I had aunts and uncles and cousins and all here. I said, no, you don't have anybody here.
Wow. Well, that was a shock to her.
Yeah.
I mean, when they left in 58 and their daddy committed suicide in 58, it was, Waycross was history.
That's it. They never had any family members here.
But she thought she was coming home to some...
Yeah, she was expecting something different.
Yeah.
You know, she was just young. You know, she didn't know any better. Pamela Barr was supposedly managing her, you know. Now, Jimmy Thrillquill, he went on to actually be a little bit of a successful producer out in California.
Yeah.
Dave, he had his own studio and stuff. I don't know what he accomplished, but he worked in the industry. The rest of them, I don't know what happened to them.
Let's really hear it now from Polly Parsons, the living legacy. Polly Parsons again. What a great job. Come on now. Let's hear it. Polly, come on back. Come on back and take a bow. Put it together. Give it up for Polly Parsons.
Let's go, y'all. Woo! It's spring. God bless you. Take care. All right.
A great job. We've got a great show here for you tonight. In just a moment, we've got
Kid
a very
Rock on
special
the
treat
drums.
for you. I do want to remind you, we've got the four portalets over on this
Like
side
Kid Rock
for what's
on the
meant
drums.
to the world of country music and country rock music. There's been a lot of articles about Graham Parsons, who was born in Waycross, I believe, back in 1946. And we'd like him to come out and spend a couple of minutes with you and just let you know a little about the man that we are honoring tonight with our Graham Parsons tribute concert. I'd like to welcome from the Waycross Journal-Herald, Mr. Larry Purdom. Larry, come on out.
There he is.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 1991 Graham Parsons
1999?
concert in
1991.
Waycross, Georgia, the first of many. Just want to take a couple of seconds. You know, 20 years ago,
He's coming in
Graham
hot.
Parsons had a dream.
I'm coming in so
He
hot.
did.
in the future.
He had a good intro.
Before he did, he lived half his life in Waycross, at places like Williams Heights Elementary School, right over there. Graham Parsons left the South, but the South never left Graham Parsons. He took the music that he heard growing up here in Waycross at WACL, WAYX, when AM radio was king. The country music, the rockabilly, the rock and roll, and the gospel blend that he heard right here in Waycross, took it out west and changed the shape of American music. They say that Graham Parsons' life led and read like a bad country song.
There he is.
2 days before Christmas in 1958, his dad killed himself. The day Graham graduated from high school, his mother died in the hospital, ill with liver problems caused by
all
alcohol
over the
abuse.
state looking for that
Shortly
green
thereafter,
coat.
Bob Parsons,
There it is.
Graham's
Just-
stepfather,
It was the suede
married a
coat
family
that
babysitter.
Dave traveled
But, you know,
statewide to find that coat, wasn't it,
That
Dave?
gave great country artists. It
Well,
says,
what color
"My
was it?"
music is the heathen music.
It's the same color as Larry's shirt.
Hunter green?
Teal.
And Graham Parsons surely played the healing music.
Teal.
He always saw his solace in the music that he heard down south.
Let me hold that hat. Pass it down.
We're glad for you to be here tonight.
There it
In
is.
just a little while.
See?
Good, soft Georgia
Yes, sir.
wind is going to come over the stadium.
Put it on top of the other hat.
It's nice golden glow on everybody. And much the same way.
Does that remind you of anything,
Just
folks?
want to say, take a second. Welcome home. Welcome home,
Double
Graham.
decker.
Stop back anytime.
It's,
I got my Yamaha there, Aston.
Billy Ray's playing a Yamaha,
Together, don't it? Yeah.
and I'm playing a Takamine.
All right, we're going to keep
One you give away. Didn't you give that one away?
I gave that Takamine away. Everybody knows that story by now.
Yeah.
Hickory win!
I like that introduction. Oh, win.
Oh, yeah. We started off with Loving You.
This
That
is a
could've
song
been-
that Ray and I co-wrote.
That should have been
It's published by Bill Lowry.
I've had the sunshine, the pouring rain. I've shared the laughter.
Lowry loved that stuff there.
Felt the pain.
We blended the country and the Eagles, is what we did, Sean.
It seems that I never knew.
I'm gonna tell you something. Them fringes, they hurt. They hurt you. Bill Smith, lead guitar on the left. Brother of John Smith on drums.
With love on fire.
George Farr on keyboards.
Hearts on fire, man.
That's Tony Kaysen right in between. You can barely see him underneath the piano back there.
What was he doing?
I think he was
playing.
Let's see.
Probably playing pedal still.
I can't remember if this was a pedal steel song or
He
not.
played it on Hickory Win, I remember.
Yeah. There's Debbie Thigpen to my right. Ronnie Griffin on bass in the lilac jacket. Ronnie's an excellent musician. We came out with both barrels blazing. Now I tell you, we were well rehearsed. We weren't like the bass player in Polly's band. We weren't just a cover band.
Yeah, he pissed me off.
Look at there.
I seen that same moon tonight.
It was the same moon, but
It's still out there. And where we are right now is only a few blocks from where this all took place.
yeah, that's true.
That's Debbie Parker.
Debbie Thigpen. She married Andy Thigpen.
Well, that Stetson's held up.
That's That's a big hat, I'm telling you. Funny thing about it is that my head is the same shape inside that hat. It's tall.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's tall like that and pointed.
Yeah. Got a dent in top.
And got a dent, a ridge. Looks like a dumpling. Now Tony's playing steel guitar. This is amazing, folks. 2 weeks before this, Tony goes down and buys him a pedal steel. And the pedal steel guitar is not easy to learn. But
he's only been playing it 2 weeks. Wow.
That's the talent right there in that guy.
Bill Smith.
That's Bill picking the lead. Bill brought a little more of a rock jazz edge into it. Yeah. Probably a lot like Jock Bartley did when they went out on tour. You know, Jock Bartley from Denver, Colorado.
He was more of a rock guitar player.
They hired him, and he was more of a rock guitar player, but it worked. You Can't Hide Your Heart from Love.
That was it. That was a good one there.
That was another original song.
Larry should have released that one there. Huh. That was a good little tune.
That was a good tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were trying to get a Desert Rose band sound there.
That's right. That was what we was going after, Desert Rose.
That was a perfect little tune.
There's another song written by Mr. Graham Parsons. He's about 18 years old, I believe.
Excuse me. He's singing, but they didn't have the
mic on.
They didn't have the sound up. Remember, it comes in all of a sudden here. It's coming over the monitors, but it wasn't out front. Now this sound crew. They were from Michigan. But
2 truckloads.
They also thought, well, here's a damn local band. This is gonna be chicken shit, you know. But by the end of our set, they were like,
oh yeah, those engineers on the back of the stage doing the monitor with just
the monitor mix and all. They were like, damn, boys. And what's funny is, I hope we get to this, is somebody, I believe it was the monitor guys, was saying, last song, cut it.
Rock and roll.
On our next to last song.
John was in the store today talking about it. He was telling John to cut it.
Yeah.
And John said, rock and roll.
And John stood up like to leave the stage, and we were all looking at him. And he just made the decision to say, we learned 12 songs for this. We're going to play 12 songs. And he just hollered out, rock and roll. Sat down and clicked it off. And we did, was it Big Mouth Blues?
Big
was that
Mouth
the last
Blues.
song?
That was it.
That's a good one to do.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a big mouth.
You see the sun going down.
Yes, sir.
It's another original.
My Heart's in Your Hands. Lowry loved that one too.
I was trying to do my best Vern Gosdin voice.
That stuff could have been hits if we could have just got up there.
I was in 10th grade. I didn't even know this was going on.
Jesse was at it as a kid, you know what I mean? Just hanging around there.
I didn't have a connection.
I was 2.
Las Vegas.
Oh, look at out there.
Always a good number.
Yes, sir. Everybody's up moving. Look at everybody moving up there.
Second time lose Virginia. Third time lose drinking, that thing goes think I'm gonna win.
I remember Polly and them being down at the bottom of the stage. She was just shaking. He couldn't believe it. Because of the conversation we had that day of it, you know.
Well, we was tight. We were rehearsed. We were together.
She was standing down there right at the bottom of the stage.
Tony Kaysen on his pick-licking guitar. Oh, George Farr on his pick-licking piano. Okay, Bill Smith. Tony, I hope we get a little bit of Tony picking that. Tony had a B-bender. And, Clarence White, Gene Parsons invention. Oh, this is the end. Shoot, we missed Tony's lead.
That little Beatles.
Yeah, he
ended it with the little nod to the Beatles.
Yeah.
Little toe tapping music. We'd like to feature a special guest y'all all know around these parts is the tourism director for the Waycross Ware County Chamber of Commerce, a beautiful woman and talented too, Miss Linda Lee. She's going to perform a song by Emmylou Harris.
That was my second wife's cousin.
Yeah,
to Birmingham.
How many wives you had? How many wives' cousins did I have?
That's a different story.
I mean, by virtue of osmosis.
That was Linda's moment in the sun there.
That was another pretty girl from Waycross.
we practiced in Ben Smith's art room, and the whole art room was covered with naked pictures of women. And Linda, it didn't bother her, did it?
No.
Naked artwork that Ben had done, you know?
Well, the girls, the naked art, the models
real
that he
models.
used were local teenagers. You know, many of them were
But he tried to intimidate Linda,
high
but it
school
never did.
girls.
Because old Ben was a rascal, you know. He was trying to
Judge Ben. There ain't many like him.
I never forget something he said to me when we were practicing brass buttons. He said, "I'll never forget those shiny silver shoes." Because he knew Avis.
Shiny silver shoes that Graham's mama wore.
Yeah.
The shoe game.
Yeah.
Judge Ben and his wife were invited to it.
But his
They
wife-
left when they told them what was fixing to happen.
That's
they
right.
said,
Or that's what they told you.
they said, we'll see y'all later. Yeah.
I'll never forget them silver shoes, my ass.
Well. I always did think that John Smith looked a little bit like Graham. Just kidding, Jabba. Just kidding, John. There we go. Linda Lee.
That's good.
Need to let Linda know we're putting this up.
I don't even know if she's on. I don't know where she is.
I think I'm
Our
Facebook.
drummer, John Smith, and his brother, the lead guitarist over here on the right side, Mr. Bill Smith.
So this was one of the Smith Brothers originals.
Yeah. Way back then.
Song called Way Back When.
Yeah. And Lowry had published it.
Right.
And I sent
This was
it.
also published.
I sent it up there to Lowry Farm.
Here's another number off Graham Parsons' last solo album. The old song, country song titled Cash on the Barrel.
This was written by the Louvin brothers. Amazingly, when Graham was 9, he went to a concert at the Waycross City Auditorium to see Elvis, and the opening for Elvis was the Louvin brothers and the Carter family.
So then bring that full circle.
Yeah.
When Graham recorded this,
he had
Elvis's band.
3 of Elvis's band. James Burton, Glenn D. Hardin, and Ronnie Tuck. So it's, folks, it's just an amazing story. Graham's story is such an amazing story, full of twists and turns that fall into place, cosmic happenings, and then just devastating sadness.
Something in the water.
Something in the water. He was as much a Waycross boy as anybody in this room. He he went a lot farther than anybody in this room. Man, what a story. He'll be talked about for generations, the importance of his music. We just a little asterisk in the story. But we did what we could, to
y'all throwing down that night.
Carry his, I don't know, we're carrying his legacy, or we're just trying to make people aware of what he was and what he did. This is getting near the end now, I think. This might be the next to last song, unless I'm remembering wrong.
No, we still haven't done You. We do You at some point if they filmed it, if they called it in there.
I don't know if that one was recorded.
Or did we do You?
We might have cut that one. We might have cut it because of the slowness.
Might have been.
And it would have added length to the set. And we already were under the gun.
That may have been it.
Thank you all. The name of our group is Hickory Wind. We named it after a Graham Parsons song, possibly his signature song. It goes something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Well then.
I forgot you did that.
Just change the words up. It don't matter.
I'm glad you did it.
What if Polly had come here and slapped me right in the face? You made the words, Dave.
Well, I'm sure South Carolina does have their share of tall pines, but damn it.
I think we got more.
He only lived under one of them, South Georgia.
I swear to God, if you was to walk through this neighborhood that he grew up in called Cherokee Heights and look up at the spires.
When I drove Ben Fong Torres down Seminole Trail, he never asked another question. He told me, this is what it's written about. Finally, I understand. Because you see it. You see the lyrics. And everybody else, since then that I would drive down it, they would see the same thing.
Yeah, it was imagery. You talk about him and Bob Buchanan writing that song on a train
trip. Well, even
trip.
Bob told me when I took Bob and showed him, Bob said, I finally know now what Graham was talking about.
Well, they were on a train when they wrote that song, so it was each man's childhood memories coming back. In fact, and I don't know where Bob was from.
It's quoted in Bob Keelan's book. Bob Buchanan actually said it in quote, I finally now know what Hickory Wind was written about. That's in quote in Bob Keelan's
Bob was living in like Michigan or Wisconsin or somewhere up there. I don't know if that was where he was from originally, but
well, Graham had two.
Bob Buchanan was in the International Submarine Band.
Yeah. Bob lived with Larry at the folk house under Randy Sparks. Did you know that? Yeah, he lived with Larry Murray. When Randy Sparks put everybody in the folk house, it was Larry, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and Bob Buchanan and John Denver, or John Dutchendorf then. He was in the New Christie Minstrels. Randy Sparks was managing them. And he was friends of Larry's back then.
Here it is.
There it is.
That's when they're trying to cut you off.
Yeah.
Rock and roll!
Old John Smith. And they going like this here.
Yeah.
Y'all breaking the law. That's one of y'all's crimes right here taking place.
I told y'all to cut it.
That's rebellious.
It was rock and roll. That was a rock and roll move.
Got Bill excited. He's like, we rocking it now. We had that cape coming down from the back of your head.
Cape.
Yeah. That mane.
Mullet. There's Tony on his bender.
James Burton lips.
That's James Burton lips.
Casey working away. And Bill comes in at the end of it.
Yeah. That's George piano. This is it. Yeah.
Bill Smith.
Rock and roll!
Thank you. And let's hear it for Hickory Wind. Yes, indeed.
Y'all ever heard of Diet Pepsi? It's new.
So much talent. The great Graham Parsons, born in Waycross, Hickory Wind from Waycross. Now the only thing we need is Pernell Roberts here. Come on.
That's a good spot right there.
Our first Braves update. We have a Braves update for you.
Braves update.
No, I don't.
Okay.
It's like, I don't care.
Oh,
that was good. That was good memories.
Are we
boys.
still? Are we live now?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're still live.
Okay.
that was fun. That was fun reliving that. Back then, the thing about it was after this, Chamber of Commerce never did another. They had the first 1991 Graham Parsons Memorial Tribute. They talked about possibly carrying this thing into the future and further on, but
until they read the book.
They read the book and they dropped it like a hot potato.
Yeah.
And about 7 years later, I had a little thing in the backyard that was just to get together for local musicians that evolved into the Graham Parsons Guitar Pull and Tribute Festival. And Hickory Wind, the band, that was our only engagement. And after that, but we all had a good time at it and doing it and everything.
Yeah.
Two of the members of the group, Tony Kaysen and George Farr, formed a country music band based on what we did with that right there called Alibi. They went on to
win the Charlie Daniels contest.
Win the Charlie Daniels Country Music Contest, upcoming new bands and stuff. And they had a record contract, or they were courting some record companies anyhow, and then that band ended up breaking up like bands do. But that's kind of like the after effect of that one magic night there in 91. And then Hickory Wind, we continued to perform at the Graham Parsons Guitar Pulls over the years. And I think the last time we played was 2018, I believe it was. It was the year we had Marty Stewart.
That's it, last time.
And the Guitar Pull, we've had a lot of headliners over the years at that thing. Leon Russell, Charlie Louvin, Kevin Kinney, Jay Farrar,
Ralph Stanley,
Dr. Ralph Stanley,
Leon
Jim
Russell.
Lauderdale, and
Leon Russell,
the Dillards,
Rodney Dillard,
Bernie Ledden,
many
Flying Burrito Brothers, Burrito Deluxe.
Oh my gosh, Sneaky Pete.
Sneaky Pete's last concert
played here. We've just had some Marty Stewart and Fabulous Superlatives, Kentucky Headhunters, Firefall. We've had a lot, folks, and it's a wonderful
Capricorn Rhythm Section.
Capricorn Rhythm Section.
Jimmy Hall.
It's very heartfelt.
Randall Brown, Tommy
family festival, and it's
Scott Boyer,
like Paul Campbell from Mobile, Alabama. He and his wife Lorraine Flanders they discovered the festival sometime in the 2000s when they attended for the first time, and he calls it the best little music festival that you've never been to. And
we had Larry Murray in 2019, who was connected to the whole country rock explosion from Waycross, another pioneer from Waycross in California.
Mm-hmm. And then we last year with the pandemic, we weren't able to do it out at the fairgrounds. We have it each year out at the Okefenokee Fairgrounds right here in Waycross. Vendors, campers, RVs, the whole works is all enclosed within the fairground midway. A beautiful stage is already up, constructed out there, and it's a laid back good time. Mm-hmm. And we invite you all to put it on your calendar. It's usually in the latter part of the year, I think around mid-October.
You know, when Sneaky Pete came off the bus, I met him as he was stepping off the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And me and him walked, and you could see all those pine trees back there at the back of the fairground.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "That's the pine trees Graham wrote about in Hickory Wind." and he said, "Man, you know, he was just."
But coming up tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be doing our second year in a row because of an old thing called COVID. We'll be doing our second virtual online guitar pull in tribute to Graham Parsons. We hope that you'll tune in.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a good time. And we thank you for tuning in to this special episode of our guest, Billy Ray Herrin, reliving some good memories of the 1991 Graham Parsons Memorial Tribute.
Historical memories.
The Ben Fong Torres interview and all that good stuff. Thanks, Ray, for coming on. And
I enjoyed it.
We still ain't covered at all. We'll have Billy Ray on again in the future.
We didn't scratch the surface with y'all yet.
The journey.
Some more good stuff.
The journey me and Dave began all those years ago.
Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. And come back tonight for another Something in the Water special event.
Cold black water finds its way across through your veins. It just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate. It just might see your face.